First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming here this evening to help celebrate the honorees on this, the 4th annual Waterford and District Sports Heritage Hall of Fame. Before I get into talking about Bozo, I'd like to, first of all, pay tribute to a great guy, one of the pioneers of the town, one of the greatest athletes ever played here. He's currently 95 years old. He was one of the first inductees here, Marshall DeVoe, and I'd like to say I had the great pleasure of running around the Maritimes for 10 years with Marshall as coach of our basketball team, and Bozo was a very big part of that. I was honored to be asked to speak about Bozo tonight, as he was a great friend and teammate. He was born on April 28, 1937, and passed away on July 21st, 2008. He was the son of Charles and Elizabeth Lizzie Campbell Steele. Bozo had 5 brothers and 2 sisters, Peggy, Henry, Ronnie, Frank, Harry, Gregory, and Peter, and most of them were involved with sports and played sports, basketball and rugby and so on. The family when I first run into Bozo was down in our neighborhood, the bottom of 10th Street, and he lived on the Drew Street first. And that's when we first started rolling up the potato bag and tying it with rope to play rugby with. The family moved from the Drew Street to Mount Carmel Avenue, and Bozo attended Mount Carmel School from primary to grade 11. And this is the crux of Bozo's whole life. When he was in 1954, in his late teens, he became sick. He had to be operated on, and he had a tubercular disc removed from his spine, and they put in bone from the bone bank in Halifax. And the thing about that is that Bozo still managed to come in. First of all, he was placed in the striker bed for 4 months, after which he spent a year on his back in the hospital in Halifax. And the great miracle about that is, after that, he came back from that, and he played baseball, basketball, rugby, even hockey. And when we mention hockey, people say, where did the hockey come from? Well, we had a great hockey league in Waterford, Mount Carmel, Central St. Agnes, and New Victoria. And in those days, you're talking the 50s, we used to be able to get on the outdoor rinks in November. And that league we had Friday afternoon off for whatever reason, I don't know. And and we used to go play, we played at the Miners Forum, and we thought we were playing in either the Montreal Forum or the Maple Leaf Gardens when we get over there playing with the boards and everything else. And we had a great league there, Mount Carmel, Central St. Agnes, and New Victoria. New Victoria had an outdoor rink. So that's where and that year there, Bozo, like you said, he got sick, and we got in the gym in Mount Carmel, which is another crime that's going to happen. They're going to tear it down now. But we were the first class in December of 1953 to get into Mount Carmel gym. And that fall, Bozo had played rugby with us. Butch Chesson was on that team. And we won the Cape Breton Championship, and we lost to a tough Pictou County league. And Bozo played fullback in that team. So we got on the gym. He couldn't play basketball. He was laid out, and then we graduated from Mount Carmel in the spring of 54, and he missed that. He missed years 53, 54, and 55, okay? And he came back after that and started playing all the sports, okay? After his recovery from that ordeal, he continued to play and excel in all the sports on the go at the time: baseball, rugby, basketball, and hockey. This was quite a feat after such a big surgery on the back. You just can't imagine, even today that's a big surgery, let alone in those days. And I imagine all they had was a saw and a hammer and something there to operate on it. Bozo married Mary Fahey, and they had one daughter, Helen, and one son, Charles. They now, I think, have 5 grandchildren: Josh, Jonathan, Charles, William, Chelsea. I don't know how many are here there today, okay? In the sports, if I talked about every single sporting relation that Bozo had in his life, we would be here till midnight. To highlight some of his sporting endeavors, Bozo participated in the following team sports, leagues, and organizations. He won 2 Cape Breton rugby titles with Mount Carmel. He played hockey for St. Mike's Intermediate's hockey team. In 1952, Bozo played for the Waterford Juvenile Cubs baseball team, capturing the Cape Breton title. And I think Butch is the only one left on that team, along with myself, that played on that team. And when they came down, we played the Halifax, Dan Willie's here, Dan Willie played on that team. And when they were coming down to play us, we won the Cape Breton title. These people at that time, juvenile, it was juvenile, went up to 19, but most of our fellows were only 16, 17, maybe 18. I think we even had a couple of 15-year-olds. So these fellows came out into the ball field, and they had these black beards on, like, and I didn't know what was going on, the Halifax Monarchs. So we lost the first game here, a tough game, and then we went back up and played them in Halifax at the Wanderers Field. And at that time, there was no fence around it, and we were leading 3-1 at the end of the, going to the ninth, and Lovey Durando. Anybody here know Lovey? Terrific. Great chucker. And he pitched that game, and he was, we were winning 3-1 in the bottom of the ninth. And they had 2 guys on, 2 out, and Bingo Pasher, if the fellas know Bingo, he was playing center field, I was playing left field. So this guy hit her and went between the fielders. So up goes Bingo, and I'm behind him. We relayed it and got it into Al the wire, and Al threw a strike to Sonny Lever, who was catching at the time. And he slid in and beat us 4-3. That wasn't the best part of it. So we came home, and we had lost that. It turns out they had 5 guys too old on the team. So all they did was give the championship to New Brunswick. They really gave us a chance to play for it. It wasn't too good. In 1957, Bozo won the Nova Scotia junior baseball team with the New Waterford team, Mount Carmel. In 1958, he played senior baseball in New Waterford, and then when we lost out that year to Sydney Mines in the Cape Breton Championship. The next year, in 1959, he was on a team. We won the first maritime senior baseball title ever to come to Cape Breton in New Waterford. And he was on that team that's being honored tonight, 65. I think there's 5 or 6 guys played on that team that also played on this team that's being honored tonight here. And Bozo, he's kind of semi-retired, and in 1980 formed the Waterford Intermediate Dodgers baseball team, which entered into the Richmond Baseball League. And if you know anything about the Richmond Baseball, they had a great league, and they had a great system. They had kids playing from 15 to 40. And you had the Scopes and St. Peter's and River Bourgeois, Lower River, and those places. And they all had teams, and they all had kids that were younger and older. And it came time at the end of the year, they'd form an all-star team of 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and so on. So they had an intermediate D, an intermediate C, intermediate B, and they used to win a lot of championships. So Bozo entered a team in that league, and they won the Maritime Intermediate Baseball Championship. And while they were playing in that league, they proceeded to play. I don't know how many more years. Rocky played on that team. I think. Mr. What was it?
86. After that year, they put us in the senior.
That's right. Well, they played, and then they went and played in the Nova Scotia Senior league combined with New Brunswick, okay? And during this time, Bozo almost single-handedly kept baseball alive because Bozo owned the team, coached the team, played on the team. And he was responsible for everything that went on with playing with that team. And anybody knows Bozo, that's what he could do. Then he played, like I said, in the senior league, and he played 3 years, I think, there, and the team disbanded, okay? He also played softball, winning Cape Breton Intermediate title with Lingan, 2 Nova Scotia titles with the New Waterford Hawks, and 1 Maritime Championship with the Scotchtown Raiders. In basketball, Bozo played with the New Waterford Strands senior team, that's our team, for many years. He helped the Strands win 7 Nova Scotia titles and 5 Maritime titles. And he once scored 50 points in a regular season game. In the community, after Bozo finally retired officially, he was very active in the community, and anybody that knows Bozo knows what talents he had and what he did. I'm going to name some of the things he did in the community. He was one of the original directors of the Cold Bowl Classic basketball tournament. He did the announcing, kept the statistics, organized the advertisers and sponsors, and ran the tag day. He used his photography skills to capture the tournament action and events and made albums for each year of those that he was there. When he left the Cold Bowl, his duties were divided up amongst 3 people, 3 new directors, okay? 1 for statistics, okay, 1 for the albums, and so on. And it wasn't too long afterwards when they proceeded to be no longer there because they weren't being looked after as well. Bozo served 3 years on the Mount Carmel Parish Council. In 1989, he was the co-chair for the 50th Mount Carmel reunion, and many of you people were probably back for that. It was one of the greatest reunions that ever was in the town. He was one of the original members of the Mount Carmel Auditorium Committee, and he was also a member of the Knights of Columbus. He served 2 years as director of the New Waterford Cavaliers hockey team, the New Waterford Jets junior team, and as statistician for the Cape Breton Junior Hockey League. He worked at the Cape Breton Post as a photographer, where he promoted all the minor sports whenever he could. He retired to Florida after his work with the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission, and he played softball for 11 years there, finally retiring officially at 66. And after having that operation on his back, and they said he'd never walk again. During his time in Florida, Bozo collected over 600 baseballs from spring training and brought them back to New Waterford and donated them to the Minor Baseball Association. In summing up, I would like to say that I, along with many other people here tonight, were associated with Bozo, not only in the sporting field, but also in the community field. Now, anybody that knows Bozo knows that whenever he came to do something, whether he was going to practice baseball or basketball or play it, or whether he was running a minor program for the tag days for the kids for baseball or something, he showed his determination and his dedication, his passion and his spirit and will to succeed in each of those endeavors. He never gave up, and he did not ever want to accept defeat, and he would say, "Come on, guys, let's get going and win this thing." Thank you very much.